So are the rumors true that you need to know someone in the University of Lagos or pay someone to gain admission in the University of Lagos?
If you pay someone, you are on your own. But I tell you, Isabella, for free. You necessarily don't have to know someone to gain admission.
So why do students with great aggregate scores don't get their desired course or no admission at all? What could be the reason behind that?
Scripture says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. When you are not informed, you'll be deformed. And I always tell people, take time to make inquiry about what each course entails. You want to study mass communication, you know, your math, your English, your literature, your Christian religious studies, your Islamic religious studies, either of the two, your government, your civic education. Those are very important courses you must take. Some persons from the get-go pick a wrong subject combination. And if it's wrong, be it at WAEC or in JAMB, irrespective of whatever you get, you will not get admission.
Hello and welcome to News Review on UNILAG TV. I am Isabella Nadia. This week, from Monday, September 1st to Friday, September 5th, 2025, over 58,000 candidates sat for the University of Lagos Post-UTME examination, each one chasing one of just 8,500 admission slots, a 1 in 7 chance at joining Nigeria's most sought-after university. The exam is over, but for thousands, the real anxiety has just begun. What happens after you hand in that answer sheet? Who decides who gets in and why? And are there hidden factors beyond your control that could determine your fate? Today, we're cutting through the noise. Joining me is Mr. Seun Ajidagba, Senior Assistant Registrar in the University of Lagos, and someone who is well versed in UNILAG admission. Mr. Ajidagba, thank you for joining me.
I don't know, maybe I'm supposed to pay for that hype. But thank you very much, Isabella. It's an absolute pleasure to be on the show to share a little knowledge I know about the admission process. And here we are. And so let's get it started.
Let's get it started, certainly. So, Mr. Ajidagba, let's start from where most students get it confused. After post-UTME, what actually happens behind the scenes until the admission list comes out?
Thank you once again, Isabella. For a bit of education, I always tell people that there are 3 processes that gets you admission into University of Lagos. 3 criteria. What you score in JAMB, what you score at O-level, and then what you get in post-UTME. Now, trying to explicitly break it down. In JAMB, whatever you score, they'll tell you 200 and above. But it varies from faculty to faculty. But let's leave it at scoring 200 and above. Whatever you score in JAMB is usually divided by 8, and it's kept on one side. The 5 relevant O-level subjects, emphasis on relevant. A1 is 4.0. B2 is 3.6. B3 is 3.2. C4 is 2.8. C5 is 2.4. And C6 is 2.0. Those good old days, they'll tell you 5 credits. But let's be realistic with ourselves. Things have changed. Yes. If you have 5 credits, you don't stand a good chance. Like somebody who has 3 A's and 2 B2. Now they do a summation of that 5 relevant O-level subjects. Then when it gets to post-UTME, it is 12/30. That is what they do that calculation. And 12 over 30 represents 40 over 100. And you know, in any exam, 40 means pass.
Yeah.
But the University of Lagos places more premium and more attention and more emphasis on the post-UTME examination. Not to say the JAMB score is not important, not to say the 5 relevant O-level subjects are not important, but how you wrote your JAMB, University of Lagos don't know. Whether you were aided or you did it by yourself. How you wrote your O-level, UNILAG don't know. But the one that they can certainly be comfortable of is what you score in post-UTME. Now, you agree with me, Isabella, that once you pass post-UTME and they do aggregation of your JAMB, your O-level, and then the post-UTME, and you gain admission, you will never go back to write JAMB again. And you never go back to write O-level. You will be writing university-based exam. So they can comfortably say, we set an exam for you. You scored 25 over 30. This is a good candidate that would project the image of the university. So what happens after you have written a post-UTME is that there is the Central Admissions Committee who sit to even decide on what day is suitable for the examinations to be written. They will also sit down to say these are the modalities for how the exams should be written. This year was even unique. They said you must take the mock examination, which is like a precursor to the real exam, and for you to understand the modus operandi of how the exam would go. Now, after all of the mock examination, the exams have been written, the next thing is when results are out, they now sit again to consider what should be the cutoff point for each department and by extension each faculty. What was obtainable last time might not be obtainable this time. And for me, I'm a man who likes to set high standard because my late dad used to tell me that he who aims high shoots higher. So case in point, medicine last year was 80%. I'll tell you, work towards 85. If it drops lower, you fall within the range. But not for me to tell you, oh, let's leave it at that. So in all, they sit and they look at performance level. And I like the fact that you said something very instructive. They call it University of First Choice and the nation's pride. And I also want to add, sought after university. So it comes down to how people perform in that examination. Then they now put a benchmark to say, this is what the cutoff should look like.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for briefly giving us how the aggregate is coming. You mentioned a minimum of 200 in JAMB,
Yeah.
and you know your A levels are calculated. You
Yeah.
need at least 5 credits in your A levels.
5 credit, no, because it doesn't stand you in a good chance.
That was
A and B.
Yes, yes. It
Gives you that, you know, so because why I'm saying this, that look at C4, 2.4. So just imagine you have 5 C4s. You don't stand a chance like somebody who has 3 A's and 2 B's. When they do that calculation, you find out that that person has, okay, let me give you a quick instance. I have a lady who wants to study medicine. Math, English, physics, chemistry, biology. That is their requirement. It doesn't, and that's why they call it Fikenbau. The only thing that distinguishes what you have at O level and what you have in JAMB is when they take out mathematics. So in JAMB, English statutorily compulsory. Then you now sit for physics, chemistry, biology. Then when it comes to O level, you just incorporate maths. She has 3 A's and 2 B's. I mean 2 B2. And when I did the calculation, she was on 19 point something. That's a good aggregate.
Thank you, sir. So this leads to my next question. So why do students with great aggregate scores don't get their desired course or no admission at all? What could be the reason behind that?
Scripture says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. When you are not informed, you'll be deformed. And I always tell people, take time to make inquiry about what each course entails. You want to study mass communication, you know, your math, your English, your literature, your Christian religious studies, your Islamic religious studies, either of the two, your government, your civic education. Those are very important courses you must take. Some persons from the get-go pick a wrong subject combination. And if it's wrong, be it at WAEC or in JAMB, irrespective of whatever you get, you will not get admission. There was a boy 3 years ago. I told the father, because I know the father so well, I will go to the secondary school and I will beat up the teacher who misled this boy. What happened? This boy scored 323 in JAMB, 7A1 and 2B2.
Impressive.
At the end of the whole thing, he wrote post-UTME, scored 25. Guess where the problem was? The teacher at secondary school misled this boy to sit for computer studies because he wanted to study computer science at JAMB. And that was the first time computer studies was going to be taken in JAMB. Instead of him to have sat for further mathematics. If he had sat for, he had A1 in further maths at WAEC. So there was no way he couldn't have had anything short of a 70 or 80. At the end of the day, he surpassed the cutoff point. But because of that computer studies he sat for in JAMB, the only course I could recommend him for was mathematics education. Anything short of mathematics education is on its own. After looking at everything, just because of computer study. So some persons will sit and say, but he surpassed the cutoff mark. But there was a problem. And the problem emanated from JAMB. So it could be from JAMB, it could be from O-level. So I always advise people, you want to come to University of Lagos. What exactly do you want to study? If you have not written O-level before, this is what you should work with. But if you have written, this is what you can study. You can't go beyond this because there is a popular aphorism that says, cut your coat
According to the size.
no, according to the cloth you brought. You can't cut it. If you have brought 3 yards for a tailor and you know it's 4 yards that will be adequate for you, they will sew 3 yards for you, except they will join material.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is that it does happen. Then secondly, the other problem is, irrespective of whatever you get as aggregate, if you surpass the cutoff point, when we go to your post-UTME, you don't score 12 over 30, which represent 40 over 100. If you score anything below, when we aggregate it and you surpass that cutoff point, you will not get admission because you didn't meet up to 40, which is pass. Simple. Is there ambiguity?
No, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. Every year, students are curious on how departments decide their cutoff marks. What really goes into the decision of the cutoff marks for each department?
Thank you, Isabella. I want to liken it to a Grammy Award artist, Burna Boy. I be common person, but my happiness still be my own. Everybody get role, but no be say your own role pass my own. Now it is determined by the Central Admissions Committee to say that this is the cutoff point for each faculty. This is the cutoff point for each department. It could go higher and it could go lower, but largely dependent on performance of the students. Case in point, management science as a faculty. They have employment relation and human resource management, they have actuarial science, they have accounting, they have finance. So in those departments under management science, this year it could be accounting 70%. And don't forget that in admission, there's what we call merit.
Yes.
That one is there. Then the catchment area, which is for 6 states: Lagos, Ogun, Oyo, Ondo, Ekiti, Osun. They vary from state to state. I could be from Lagos State. Our cutoff point for history and strategic studies could be 60, just as an example. Ogun could be 57. Oyo could be 55. Osun could be 54, just like that. But largely determined by the brains at the Central Admissions Committee, and it is carefully done.
Great. So this leads me to my next question. How does the university apply the quota system? You know, there's a certain percentage for catchment, certain percentage for merit, but still how do they, you know, impose all this while considering the NUC carrying capacity for universities?
UNILAG would have loved to take lots of students. But then when you have the body controlling you, Nigeria University Commission telling you this is the total number that you must admit. Let me share one very painful incident that happened at the last admission exercise. I felt for those students. You know, this admission is not only for UTME. Yeah. Let's not forget that. Those who write Joint University Preliminary Examination Board, the one you call Foundation, JUPEP, yes, also have to be considered. Yes. Now, in case of JUPEP, quickly, they sit for 3 subjects. And so A is 5 points. This medicine for JUPEP is 16 points because 5 points, 5 points, 5 points in 3 places is 15. Then by virtue of registering for JUPEP, they give you 1 point, that's 16. A lot of students had that 16. But Isabella, what was the benchmark? The benchmark was we went to consider their O level. So those who had 4 A's and 1 B in math, English, physics, chemistry, biology were considered ahead of somebody who even had about 3 A's and 2 C's. Why? Because the Nigerian Medical Council, which is a regulatory body, had already given UNILAG the total number of students that they must admit. And so when they got to that number, they had no other choice. When they saw that they had a large chunk of brains who, you know, did excellently well and they surpassed the 16, they could not do anything. It's just like what we say in biology those good old days, Charles Darwin's theory of natural selection, survival of the fittest. Many are called, but a few are chosen. It's unfortunate that a lot of people had that mark, but they could not get what they want because the Nigerian Medical Council, which is a regulatory body, had said, take, for instance, 15 students, and then you have about 30. How do you go about it? You have to use a barrier to distinguish. So what usually happens is that you have a lot of things. You have the quota system. You have the education-led development state. Just imagine somebody from Adamawa or from Maiduguri who would have said, I want to go to the University of Maiduguri where I stand a good chance. I want to come to the University of Lagos and compete favorably. They have to give them some consideration. Or somebody who is from maybe Yola and I want to come to the University of Lagos, they have to also give them a level of consideration. So all of these factors are put into place. And don't forget the other factor that sometimes you don't mention. When the people at the top send you some list, you must adhere because they are your guys. And what do? You answer tight. You know, one of my favorite person in the world, Babatunde Fashola, SCN, former governor of Lagos State, said, may your loyalty not be tested. So when those things happen, you just have to listen. When it comes from the top. And they bring lists.
So are the rumors true that you need to know someone in the University of Lagos or pay someone to gain admission in the University of Lagos? If
you pay someone, you are on your own. But I tell you, Isabella, for free. You necessarily don't have to know someone to gain admission. We have a demographic data of people in University of Lagos that you'll be shocked. Some persons, their parents, cumulatively, what they are selling is not even up to 10,000. That they are into business. They are here. and they are classified under indigent students. They did excellently well in their exam. Their parents cannot even bribe 5,000. It's as bad as that. But they did excellently well and they gained admission. So the rules are well spelled out. You do well, you come in. It's when you don't do well, you start cutting corners. So I just want to dissuade or tell you it is not true that you necessarily have to know someone to be here. Yes, it's always good to know people, but again, it's all about what you have done, the evidence before us. If you like, let your parents be very, very extremely poor. If you have done excellently well in the exam, will anybody debar you? And the evidences are there that you scored very well in JAMB, you scored very well at O level, and you did very well in post-UTME. And when they aggregated your score, I know of a boy. When they calculated his score in economics, UNILAG was owing him 20 marks. That was how brilliant he was. So you don't need to know anybody. Do well. It's when you don't do well, you start cutting corners.
Thank you so much, sir. For those who do not get admission, what are the practical options that they could consider?
It's quite unfortunate, and that's why I always try to tell people, before you do anything, please let me know. Those good old days, they will give you options. Go here, go here. But these days, if you don't do well in a particular place, they might give you another course, but it is not in your place to say, I want this. And I always educate people. If you think, oh, I wanted to study law, and you know, law and mass communication have a bit of similarity in terms of what you are supposed to sit for in JAMB and what you are supposed to sit for in O level. You cannot just switch and say, I'm switching to this next place. You switch to requisite courses where your O level and your JAMB also matches. But sometimes the University of Lagos graciously look at it that, oh, Seun wanted to study mass communication. Unfortunately, his aggregate score could not get him mass comm. Let's give him history and strategic studies. Let's give him philosophy, something that has requisite O level and JAMB with what he has. So sometimes they do that for you. They say, oh, when this IB is not available, the available becomes the preferable. What I ordered versus what I got. So you just have to take it that way.
There are certain cases where the student met the cutoff mark, in fact exceeded it, but their courses still change. Why does this happen?
It will not happen. There's no truth in that. You met cutoff mark, you have the, like I refer to, you have the requisite O-level subjects for that course. You have the requisite subject at JAMB, which you sat for, and then you pass post-UTME. No, you can't take anybody up. And then you are supposed to, they can't give you anything. It is what you deserve that you will get. Like for instance, medicine is one of the most sought after courses. And now you start for JAMB, you had like 290 or 300 when they divided it by 8 and they kept it on one side, it was a good score. You had maybe 4 A's and 1 B and they kept it on one side, and then you have 27, 28, and when they aggregated it, they said merit is 80 and you have 81, and they will now give you nursing or they will give you pharmacy or biochemistry. It's not possible. You take anybody up because the evidence before us has it that you have the requisite JAMB, O level, and you pass. Nobody will do that.
You have mentioned quite a number of times of having the requisite O level. So what are the basic requirements for O level, and is 2 sitting acceptable in University of Lagos?
It's a no, no, no. I will never go back. Oh. No, no. It's a no, no, no. You can't combine results. It's just one sitting. No combination of results. And then the brochure. You have to be acquainted with the brochure before picking anything. Don't just pick anything from your own volition. I accosted a student who wanted to study business administration. Because you finished from secondary school and you are helping your mom to sell something, this biro is 10 naira, you are helping your mommy to sell it 20 naira. I understand business. You went to pick business administration, and you are somebody who detests mathematics. You don't even know maths because you don't know maths, and you are going to go and meet FBA 110, FBA 210. FBA 110 is more like an additional mathematics. And this is somebody who didn't know maths. So you ignorantly went to go and pick and you start struggling. You now become, hey, I'm having issues here because you didn't understand very well. So it's good that you pick the brochure, you understand what is required before filling any course. Don't just pick course because you chose to. I cite an example for you. There was a boy, up until tomorrow, each time I remember that boy's statement, in my head, I'm like, wow. He was an ardent listener of mine on radio, and he got political science after about 6 attempts. And guess what? He made a wrong subject combination. He was even looking for another way out, that if I don't get the political science, can you give me any other thing? He wasn't given any other thing because there were no available spaces. On the day of matriculation, while I was asking the students who are matriculating, how excited are you coming to University of Lagos, he sent me a message on my phone. He said, Mr. Seun, do you know I was supposed to be part of these people matriculating? I feel like committing suicide. I shut down. Mentally, I was unstable because I didn't know. Because like I always say, he who wears it feels it. There was nothing I could tell that boy. If I tell him, oh, don't worry, before you say Jack Robinson, JAMB again is coming. Am I in his shoes? No, I'm not. After like 6, 7 attempts, yours truly that is sitting beside you, I'm here because it's the grace. I was almost gone. My life was almost, you see, I'm saying it because the extra mile you go in life distinguishes between success and failure. I wrote GC at SS1, how enthusiastic, how ambitious I was. What I didn't have then was mathematics. I could have just come in. And I wrote JAMB, I had 209. The next JAMB I wrote, I had 171. I had 154. And you know, I lost it. Isabella, I started gambling. My life was completely gone because each time I look at some of my colleagues who I felt I was far better off, and they're already in the university, I just look at it that, what, it was that bad that I gambled for 3 days and I will not have my bath. I lost it completely because in my head I could not think it. But he took God's intervention to revive me, and I had the last JAMB I wrote, I had 254. But that 254, it was a bodyguard to those who had 280, 290. But I still had to, and guess what? In my head all the time, I wanted to study biz admin or anything management because I was always focused on mass English, econs, government, commerce. Mass English, econs, government, commerce. The course I eventually studied was human kinetics, which required biology. I had to go and use my money to register for WAEC. The money I said I want to use to buy jeans and all those things, I had to re-register and start for it, and that was how I came in. So what I'm saying in essence is that you must understand what the rule book says. Don't just speak things ignorantly because it might affect you.
Thank you so much, sir. What are some of the common mistakes that candidates make, particularly at the screening stage?
Now, they tell you, come, I'm just using this medium to say, please, we Gen Z, Gen X, Gen Y, let's not funkicize our name. My name is Isabella, right?
Yes, sir.
Your son name?
Eyalime.
Don't say Isa or Isaac or what. He can affect you. There is a boy, if not because of the grace of God, he was going to lose his admission. Now, in school, you are Oluwajomiloju Francis Kukoyi. In all other documents, that was how it was presented. But in WAEC, it was Francis Oluwajomiloju Kukoyi. We ran from pillar to post. I'm saying this is not motivational speaker. I was involved. We went to WAEC. That can WAEC help us to change? WAEC said, are you saying we should engage in fraudulent act? Hey, wahala, we left that place. If we go to JAMB to tell them to help us change to what WAEC has done, it will now contradict all other documents. We went to newspaper, we did everything. It was a problem. At the end of the day, it took God intervention for that to happen. The school just said, Shebi is almost the same thing. Because they were the ones who registered them. And they just put, Shebi is all the same name. But they told us that Francis Oluwajomiloju Kukoyi is a different name from Oluwajomiloju Francis Kukoyi. So sometimes people make that mistake. Sometimes you make mistake even in your birth certificate and all those things. So ensure that all your documents align. How your name is properly written is how it should appear in all your documents, because it could cost you a problem. So make sure that you don't try to funkicize anything in trying to be creative. Your creativity can cost you. That is one out of many mistakes. Some, it could come from state of origin. So make sure that all your documents are tidy before you get to that screening venue, because there are large people that they want to screen. They might not have the luxury of time to start telling you, do this, do that. Just like I always tell people, those good old days, I used to mark English YA. You are writing a narrative essay on how you visited your brother. The most important point, you kept it at the back for me. I don't have time. I just cross your script. I don't have time. Give me what will stimulate my interest, what will captivate me, and what will keep me reading your script. Don't keep the vital point. Oh, Seun and Isabella are fighting, and then you are not showing that. What caused the fight between you? See, honestly, I'm not happy. Tell us what. Don't. And somebody will just tell you, are you ready to tell me what happened or not? But don't tell me, since all these days, I've just been trying to. What happened? Tell me and go straight to the point. So don't try to doctor your document. Age again is another problem. Don't falsify your age. Ensure that there's uniformity in all your documents.
Thank you so much, sir. This has been a truly insightful session. Finally, what's your advice to the candidates who are waiting right now?
The first thing you need to do, I always tell people, we as students, we know our abilities. Yes. When we do well, they tell you, I got A. But when you don't do well, they gave me. So you know what you have done and you know where you are. What I've done for quite a lot of people who reached out to me, I sent them a voice note before they wrote their post-UTME on what their target is and where they are. Some, their target is score 18 over 30 and you'll be fine. You'll gain admission. Some, you need 25. So while you are waiting, you continue to pray to God to say that whatever I have done would come to fruition and would come to reality. Because this year's post-UTME was a bit different from the post-UTME you used to know. Yes, 40 questions as usual, but had a fusion of some of your courses. For instance, we used to have math, English, and general studies. But this time around, they added 2 more subjects to it to make it 5. But in all, wait patiently, and if you have done well, and you have truly done well, you will get admission. That I can guarantee you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Seun Ajidagba, for that generous insight into UNILAG admission and enlightening us on what we need to do from the merits, catchment, and all our documents that are necessary. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Isabella.
Thank you, sir. To every candidate waiting, your effort matters. Whether you get in this year or not, your future isn't defined by one result. Keep pushing, keep improving. UNILAG remains open, and so are many other great opportunities. But before we go, a critical reminder. Do not pay anyone for admission. UNILAG does not operate a backdoor. Admission is strictly based on merit, policy, and official guidelines. If your name is on the list, it's because you qualified, not because you paid. Any person or group demanding money for admission is acting illegally and fraudulently. Report them. Official admission status will only be available on the JAMB CAPS portal and the UNILAG website www.unilag.edu.ng. No SMS, no WhatsApp message, no email from an officer is valid. If you found this episode helpful, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Follow us on all social media platforms at UNILAG on TV for the latest news, tips, and official announcements. Thank you for watching. I'm Isabella Nadia.